Hello, lovely to see you again. We had a little break through August as there was very much a Charlie Chaplin energy going on in my own life. Words were very few and far in between. So I sat in the silence, which some of you I feel like are still going to be doing in this moment, bridging into September as this video is out a little bit earlier this month. Welcome if you're new. We're doing a collective energy reading for all of you for the month of September. So we look at the themes that may be presenting to you throughout this month, more just to help you cultivate an element of awareness. It can offer a little bit of peace, a little bit of clarity, but we also like to offer some tools and insights so that you can work with this energy to your advantage. And I'm going to say not get stuck in the victim at this time. I've been super excited about September for a wee while. Readings have been coming in and there's almost been like this, sometimes they travel further down the timeline for people, more than sort of 6 months. But upon reflection, I've noticed how many times there's been such a consistency with my guides sort of showing me that September is really like a massive breakthrough month for a lot of people. There's a lot of excitement coming in, which feels quite strange initially because there is so much chaos going in outwardly and it can feel a little bit like that on the inside, but there's this kind of shake off of the seriousness that we've had towards life. So we're going to journey through a few different themes, as I said, to empower you. Take what you will, leave what doesn't resonate, I guess. We are moving into, we're in a Mercury retrograde period, so please forgive me if I am talking in tongue twisters or chewing my own tongue. So we're going to start. I've written down some little themes for you. I would like to sort of enter into channel mode. And we are going to begin with this theme of Charlie Chaplin, which I super duper love. But what I love almost like as an archetypal expression, there's this feeling of awkwardness inside of the body, yet this contagious energy that's bloomed from an element of silent celebration that really wants to come through now, and it's almost inevitable that it will. Awkwardness is one of these things that we all experience, yet it doesn't need to be something that we judge as negative or move into freeze to because we're feeling I don't really know how this is going to pan out, but I'm kind of going to give it a crack anyway. This is a lot to do with expression. I'm going to say service work as well if you're a creator, but it's almost embracing this sense of awkwardness and actually finding very quickly that there is an element of vibrancy that really supports your contagious energy. So I kind of want to nudge you to move into those places that previously have been too dry or too hard or too out there or not timely enough. It's kind of like, all right, let's just do this and let's not expect perfection. Let's just kind of give it a crack and see what happens. What I love about this is that we've had so many different points of reflection as to where it's not about the external not being willing to receive you in your life and in your expression. It's more about the judgment we have on ourselves and how we are almost going ahead of time to predict the worst case scenario. And it almost feels like that future vision sensation or the attachment to a certain outcome as feeling like looser. There's some liquid, there's some courage, like liquid courage coming in. So kind of just go for it. It feels like a really beautiful, it's almost like the world has a dress up party right now and everyone turns up to the dress up party in their life, and to realize that the character in which they are expressing is more of their authentic self than the one in which they have been clothed in. And it can come as a bit of a surprise initially, but it's like, oh my gosh, of course, that makes so much sense. It's like when someone has a connection to an animal totem or a specific superhero or an archetype of a witch or whatever this is. It's like that real core expression is really wanting to come out, and it's done with a sense of lightness because I feel a lot more humor around, and again this feeling and sensation of like, let's not take life too seriously. And whilst there is a serious element always to life that keeps us focused and attentive, we're kind of in this space where it feels like we got not much to lose. So just give it a go. Whether this is your creative expression and it's done privately, whether this is within your intimate relationship and you're expressing yourself differently sexually, whether this is with your family and those moments where you've stayed really quiet, you're like, you know what, I'm just going to have my say here. So it feels like where we've been quiet and we've kind of closed down the lips and swallowed the truth out of fear of the response or the reaction, it's like it can't help but come up now. There's like bubbles from the belly rising up, and whilst the reaction to your expression may be shocking for someone else, it's more about them than it is about you. And I feel like we've got that lens internally to be able to see that with such precision that the mirror is it's not absorbed by you. The mirror is initially bounced back and that person goes, oh, whoa, that was really intense, but hold on a moment, that's got nothing to do with me. And it acts like a bit of a gift for the other to move into this place of reflection, and also gives them permission to perhaps express in ways in their life where they have been too afraid to. So liquid courage is certainly an element of this. Look into Charlie Chaplin and how he walks into these awkward situations, and he is awkward and he kind of goes to back away. And what I'm going to say from there is it's like the hat comes off, the coat comes off, and all of a sudden he can do what it is that he needs to do in order to communicate. Again, this is not all verbal communication. This can be your body language, how you actually desire to move within this new archetype. Perhaps there is an element of posture here that starts to come through as well. You may feel this in your physical body as aches and pains in particular areas of your being. I can see like lengthening and stretching and sort of opening up so as that the emotions or what they're showing me almost like webbing gets to... It's like it gets stretched, and some of that programming and the information that's stored like right in the fascia, these old kind of stories are being released as we go. So whilst I'm always here to support the inner work, it feels a lot about action outwardly, even though it can feel like a big dress-up party and there's a whole lot of clowns and chaos going on around you. This will sort of settle moving into October, where we refine this expression and find a bit more of a way with it. So it can feel a little wobbly, a little bit awkward, a little bit weird, putting ourselves in these situations. And it's not so deliberate. That's what I really love about this. There have been other months where I've said, give it a crack, go out and go on a date. But it's almost like you run into someone on the street and you're like, you know what, do you want to go and get a coffee now? And so we sort of feel a little bit more in flow with the synchronicity. And sometimes when things have been denser or darker, we become wired to focus on what I would call like the shadow side, or the things we're afraid of, or worst case scenario. And it's like, we know that we can be in that space anyway, and hence this element of courage. It's like, well, what's the best that could happen? That kind of feels like the attitude that's coming here. And whilst the reward may not be materialistic, although I do see for some people wealth is increasing right now, this kind of sensation of richness and delicacy and deliciousness is really palpable for some. It's not really about what you get back. And that's what I love about this true expression of just like, oh, wow, this makes me feel really, really free. And I can see how my experience in this is rippling throughout my family network or within my workplace in a really beautiful way. And it's actually really encouraging. So there is a sense of freedom here, even though we may still be looking at a life via our physical eyes that is not necessarily mirroring this back directly yet. But in October, when we find this pace and this rhythm, we'll start to get really organized with this energy. So I really, 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 really love that. Death of the Cynic was something that I wrote down in regards to this as well. So it's almost like that martyr energy or the victim. I feel like we've had such insight into that, and I can almost hear like laughter, like, God, I've been complaining a lot. Oh my God, I've been whinging a lot. Like, look at this life. Look how beautiful this planet is that we live on, and kind of switching the awareness to something that has always been there, but we haven't been able to fully feel. And so there's a lot of feeling involved with this, a lot of electricity, a lot of magnetism, a lot of bubbles, a lot of like, who gives a fuck? I'm just going to give this a crack, because it is coming from the heart. It is coming from the soul, this soul expression. And the soul is like, feels really on the surface right now. I feel like there's been a lot of soul retrieval, so kind of recollecting and bringing back in elements of ourselves from other past lives, so we can feel more whole when this integration really happens. And by the end of September, I'm going to say that this feels much more comfortable. That can mean the expression changes physically as well. I would go with that. I really love beauty this month and new and profound ways of expressing ourselves. Fabrics feel really important. Throwing things away, do the op shop run, sell the things that you feel like you might get some cash back for, donate to people that need something. It's like cleaning out the cupboards and the closets. Obviously, as we go through Mercury retrograde, it's a really nice time for this, but I also see the flip side of that is like, well, if I'm going to empty out my cupboards, I'm actually going to go and purchase myself one or two nice things in return to that. Let me itchy nipple, sorry. Hair can change now. So I feel like if you're in the beauty industry or you're working with hair, beauty products, skin was a really strong theme. I feel like there's this huge awareness around skin, changing up products that feel better for you. Moisturizing, there can be a sensation of dryness if you're moving into spring. If you're on the other side, we may be looking at kind of scrubbing and kind of washing off those outer layers. I'm not going to go too deep into that because they're things we've touched on previously before, but new ways of expressing yourself that feel quite deliberate in anchoring and expressing this character of you and your soul outwardly by almost like putting on the outfit for the day. If you're working from home and you're still working in trackies and you're wondering why it is that you're not getting anything done, I want to say play the part fully. Like, I did this intentionally today. I put something nice and silky on and I felt very professional. It might come off after this, but it kind of set me up. I was like, yeah, this was nice. Okay, yeah, I'm rolling with it. Teeth feels like something really interesting right now. Gums, teeth. I feel really like it's sometimes like in the finer details of the things that we may put off for 6 months at a time. It's a really good time to go and have some of those pieces checked out. We do look at health a lot when we move through Virgo season. So detox is definitely going to be on the cards for other. It's also going to be repelled by those who've been consistently kind of, what I want to say, detoxing emotionally and energetically for huge periods of time. Just be mindful there. Just because everyone else may be doing it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be right for you. I'm all for detox, but please tune into your own body and ask if that's what it requires right now. It may just be that you need worming, or you need to remove a couple of different products from your diet that are causing spots on your skin or something. So kind of like checking in and tuning in where you're at versus what everybody else is doing in regards to your physical body. I'm going to say like that feeling and sensation of stagnancy starts to move from the system as well now. So if you've had aches and pains and things like that in the joints, all you got to do is stop and pause for a moment, check in with your body, ask it what it needs. If you need some help translating some of that, please come see me. There are mini readings on my website. You can ask one question and we download 10 minutes of information to help translate that for you so that you can get that spot on. And I feel like we really kind of get the spot on piece with the health right now. You might be like, I'm doing everything right and I'm moving in all of the right ways. And then you're like, body, what is it? And it's like, oh, I need some vitamin E. And you're like, oh, hold on a second. That makes sense. So supplementation can be something that's changing right now. It obviously with the seasons, our bodies start to feel quite different. They will start to crave different foods, and different types of movements. So be open to new ways of expressing yourself in that regard. Exercise doesn't need to be a punishment. Try and find something that feels fun for you right now that again expresses your soul. Anything that is designed to have punished you in the form of diets, lifestyle, restriction, it's like it can start to feel really toxic right now. And there's this element of like cracking away the hatred and actually doing this from a really loving place. I kind of feel like the inner mother or the inner father is like, you know what, I think we could take a more gentle approach to this. And it may not be the food, it may be the inner dialogue. So can we kind of like rejig what's going on in here? And that's where I feel like we start to have these miniscopic changes in relationship to our body and our health and our wellness. But we go about it in a with more character, with more truth, with more of this like sustainability piece inside, knowing that we change and we grow and we evolve. but we can kind of hit the nail on the head when it comes to the elements that may have been missing, that tweak everything else and bring about what I would call like a sense of absolute balance and harmony, moving sort of like halfway into October. It can take a little while for the body to soak up and get the nutrients that it needs from that place. I do just want to touch on like aches, pains, a lot around lungs, heart, shoulders, neck, jaw. This section of the body and the being, we're looking at like old grief, grief from other lifetimes, deep, deep, deep seated grief. But there is this like backbone that comes from that, or this element of support, or I'm going to even just translate this because I'm seeing it trickle down now, of like light codes that have come in that have moved from your soul star chakra, which is that chakra above your head that filters information for you. It's like that information has started to drop in, and it hasn't moved all the way down to the feet, which I believe that it will, let's just say like 3rd week of September. Thank you. That light is doing what it needs to do to move into all of those spaces and places in between to help empower you to what I'm going to call like take a different breath of life, the inhale of life, and taking life in for what it is with that positive attitude, with the death of the victim, the death of the martyr, the death of the poor me, why me, blah, 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 which is, don't worry, I've done this, I've been this, I am this still sometimes. But the awareness is so there. It's like, I'm so bored of that. So let this light trickle into all of those areas. Touch those parts of your body. If you're tight, get a massage yourself. It's like loosening up the muscles. It's, for some of you, it's more on the surface level, so more around the fascia. There are like emotions in the fascia, those sort of like first few layers of the skin. I feel like moving in those places, it doesn't need to be aggressive. Literally just touch your body where it wants to be touched, and there is so much more going on than what meets the eye. When this drops down a little bit lower, these light codes, and we're kind of looking around moving it into your solar plexus, there is this deeper sense of power to self. And what I want to almost say there is like, we're having this relationship with life right now where we're going, oh crap, I was doing that for you and you're not even listening. Hold on a moment. I've been exerting all of my creative energy into doing your jobs, and that doesn't really resonate with me. Hold on a moment. I've been wearing these clothes because that's how you like to see me. It's almost where we've lost integrity and become who we feel like other people need us to be in order to make them comfortable, yet they didn't really see it, feel it, respond to it anyway because it wasn't organic. And so this sensation of like, hold on a second, this is who I am. There's like almost what I would call like a reckless energy here, but I actually like it. It's like, I don't give a fuck. That's kind of what I want to say. But you do. Deep, 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 deep in, like where that comes from is more like, I don't have time to waste. I got this life here. And yes, the soul is eternal, but like, I came here to do shit. I came here to get stuff done. I came here to connect and enjoy and have the courage to go into these darker places. But we're not so afraid of that anymore. We've been there time and time and time and time again. So if you're in that space, you know the light is coming. It's like, all right, cool. I'm gonna be in surrendered, moving from surrender and clenching and when's this going to be over to I trust. Like I deeply, deeply trust. Trust and faith is something that we're always going to be contemplating, and when we're in those spaces of absolute discomfort, it's a really beautiful invitation to look at faith. I've been talking about this with my girls in the House of Mystics, the homeschool for the intuitively sensitive. What is it that you have faith in? I believe I've asked you this question in previous months before. Please contemplate this really deeply, because without faith of a higher power, I almost want to say that there feels like this real singular, it's like it gives energy to the victim. It gives energy to that poor me. Why is this happening to me? Versus, hold on a moment, there is perfection in all of this, even the discomfort, even the pain, even the challenges. Thank you for this. What am I learning here? And if the learning and the lesson is still coming from a vibration or a place, say like, well, I'm just being punished, is that what love would really say to you? And I feel like we can just have like these tiny little It's like I'm seeing like a woodpecker. It's like a dot, 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 dot. And we can crack away at this through reflection and observation of this inner dialogue without going around in tangles and all these other sorts of places. It's just like, I'm going to get really real with some of this. And faith is something that no matter what is going on, whether that be God for you, the universe, Mother Earth, love, the planets, your higher self, recognizing what that faith is for you. So in those moments where things feel tough, not only this month, but for the rest of your life, you can lean back in and go, hey, I know you got me. I know that I'm going to be okay. I know that I'm going to be safe. All of a sudden, we're not in fear. The ego is not in control. We can settle into our hearts. And when we're in our hearts, we're much more likely to feel, hear, and listen to the intuition. That guidance can come through, usually very simply and easily. And then it kind of pans it out for you. It's like one step at a time. Intuition isn't going to give you information for 6 months' time per se. It's going to show you what the next step is. I think that's a really important theme that I want to go into. Next step is something that we're going to notice of, like, people are going to be like, oh, well, I'm doing all of the things and I don't know why it is that I'm not feeling anything different. It's like, what was the guidance that came to you 3 weeks ago? And it might be like, finish your taxes before you start making more money. Or finish your taxes. What's the resistance around finishing off your taxes? And you might be like, oh, it's just so boring. I don't understand. But the moment you do that, you feel this like weight off your shoulders and the energy is moving again. You start to think forward versus thinking backward or placing your energy backward. So the moment that your tax is done, income starts to flow in again. It's like these little snippets or pieces of guidance that come from your intuition are perfectly placed to give you that momentum that you need to feel an element of continuation and soul expression. I like that. Thank you. So watch the little niggles. Tune in if you're feeling stuck. Was there something that was suggested to me that I haven't yet acted upon? It could be like, go see the acupuncturist. And you're like, yeah, I'll get there in a few weeks. And it's like, no. How about you do that today? And when that piece is done, the next piece of information comes in. So really relating quite deeply with the intuition and actually acknowledging where we dismiss it potentially. Anyway, I'm going to refer over to my paper because I feel like I've missed all the themes that I brought in initially. Organization, we kind of touched on that a little bit. I feel this more around like the first week of September is like, oh wow, shit, I got lots to organize here, but there's this like lightheartedness around you, like opening the cupboards and shit's falling out around your feet and you're like, okay, I really need to come back to that. Whilst we've spoken about acting on these things as they arrive, when it comes to the household, we know that this all has energy. Same with the tossing things out. But I feel like actioning this is around week 2 and 3. The 4th week is about coming in and like bringing like baskets in to help organize things in your cupboard where you may have just chucked it in. You might get rid of bed sheets and in the 4th week buy yourself a new set. You might clean all of the shit off the walls and then on the 4th week come in and paint the place. I feel like rugs, and I know we spoke about texture, but like things like bringing in a rug to a room that can just like change the whole ambience. Ambience of households feels really important and beautiful right now, especially if you're on the other side of the world. So you're moving into autumn, and autumn where you're going through that process of kind of letting go, getting ready to snuggle in. How can you make that feel like the cocoon and the womb that you want to be in? I mean, go outside in winter, obviously, but it's sort of a different kind of nest egg to on this side of the world where we're moving into spring. We want to get prepared to be able to have the windows open, fresh air kind of coming in. Colors may want to change in your environment. It's really important that we listen to these little bits and pieces. There's always ways to do this if finances is something that is affecting you. It's not really a topic of conversation I really like to talk about because there are so many different opinions within the collective, and I believe wherever you're at with that, everybody has karma, everybody has responsibility, and everyone has opportunity to work with their relationship to abundance, to riches, to wealth, to financial income. And it feels like quite an individual process. While there is collective themes that affect us, it's also like that shit you do in your own time. Work with the triggers as they arise, and also do the work to, I'm going to say, like, it feels very intuitive anyway. And this is something that's definitely on the cards as far as like, how could I move more deeply into a lifestyle in which I want to live by contributing to society in a way that feels like really true and expressive from this part of my soul that's like here and online and no longer terrified. So there is some contemplation around this. Again, if you're being affected by this though, and there is a lot of stress around abundance pieces, look at what you can let go of and sell. I want to say, like, be creative in this space. Check out with your community. Maybe there's a family that needs some help. I feel like that we're supposed to look at new ways of making income. It is part of like changing the system in which we're in. And the only way to do that is from the inside out. Look at those pockets where there is a need, and that might have been something that you needed that wasn't available. I look at that in like Tasmania. No one has there is in Launceston. You got to drive like 3 hours to get to the place where you want to go and have a colonic cleanse. I'm like, I know several people that have had the download to put in a center for colonic cleansing, so cleaning out the guts, which would be an awesome thing to do this month, by the way, potentially for some of you, not all of you, so I want to be mindful there. But nobody's done it yet. And I can see that if someone was to bridge that through because they felt inspired enough to, it would just flow because there is a need for it. And I think that's a really nice little point of observation. I'm just going to try and move. You know that I like to speak really fast, so I'm just going to take a breath and slow down. Check my notes. Organization did come in with this element of detox as well. So not just detox in the cupboards, detox in the body. If that's something that calls for you, again, please check in because it's going to be different to everyone. Avoiding these may cause what we would almost call like a freeze response. If that's the case, I'm going to say get some emotional support, working with feeling your body, working with feeling your emotions. If you've been living in your head and nothing is changing, or you feel stuck all the time, go and get my course, Foundations of Intuitive Living, where we teach the spirit to come back in the body, to notice when the spirit vacates and why, to feel the sensations as we come back in, and what's stored, what is asking for your attention and your energy. It's not as easy said than done. That's why I always say support with these pieces. If it's something you've been like circling round in, stuck in a cycle there, it sometimes just takes, one person to come in and support you in the right way to have that whole thing unravel, and you're no longer spinning in that spiral. I saw a beautiful image of this in the week where the spiral was like flat and then it turned up and it was like a spring. So it was like evolution, we start to change and raise the vibration. And that's something I feel can come in this month. I really loved this because the saboteur gets a really bad rap, but I feel like there's some insight into that. I could see like people like feeding their faces a little bit. It reminds me almost of that show I've been watching, Physical, and she's got an eating disorder, and this is something I know really well personally, but it was almost like it was such a beautiful depiction of the sheer intensity of her emotions and the response, and this inability to be able to feel, she's pushing things down, and every time she says, I'm not going to do this again, I'm not going to do this again, she's purging, right? There kind of feels like we get to take a back seat again and see like where the patterns have been unraveling, where we felt powerless to do something about before. And now it's kind of like, hey, I'm going to like actually listen to you. Why is it that you've been coming in and doing X, Y, Z? Why is it that I get a headache every time I do something that is for my highest good? It's like weird little things like that. And the saboteur is a really interesting, I feel like it's there to protect. And so if we have the support that we need in order to feel safe within the body, it starts to soften. And there are layers to this and there are different expressions of this, but I feel like it would be a really beautiful time for some inquiry around that. Maybe not even taking huge amounts of action just yet. You may feel that sort of more, it settles into place coming into October, but being more in a space of observation without judgment, because I do really feel like this reflection and this restoration and all these other words that they talk about through Mercury retrograde, it really deeply resonates with me. And I think that that's something to like reassess, reevaluate. And we can do so by almost being in that observer, the higher self observes, sort of sitting back from the experience without abandoning the body and getting really curious as to what the triggers are for these sorts of behaviors or patterns or mechanisms that may be happening automatically or like consciously or unconsciously. I feel like we start to become really conscious of this internally. Then we can sort of go, okay, do I need some support here? Do I need some help here? Is this something that I feel ready to work with? There's no judgment there. Take it at a pace that's right for you. I have heard from more sort of individuals, and it's strange when I looked at the collective, I didn't really see this as a whole, but almost this like death period that is happening. I do feel like if that's the place and where you're in and you're feeling sort of blocked and kind of stagnant, or it's just like things are just like naturally kind of dying internally, give yourself the time and opportunity and space that you need to really like fully let that decompose. Trust, that brings back that key to like faith. I trust where I am, and make sure that the dialogue in that process, like that's where I feel like the embodiment piece can really come in. Check what the dialogue is doing in relationship to that. Is it sort of saying, it's not good enough, it's not fast enough, I don't know what to do enough? And it's like, okay, cool, can we give some power to the heart? I like this process of divination right now as well. It's almost like casting out into the chaos. I feel it's like almost like fishing in a storm. You can be there and you can be terrified and be like, I'm not doing this. Or you can be like, I'm just going to chuck a line in and see what happens anyway. I kind of feel like people find their dancing shoes, and that might be taking the shoes off that they previously had on before. It's like new beats, new rhythms, try out new music this month. Divination in a way where you're like, yeah, I know how to make an altar, but are you actually making an altar? Yeah, I know how to talk to my guides. Are you actually talking to your guides? I know how to read tarot. Are you actually using your tarot cards in moments where you may need that? Creative energy is a really beautiful thing right now. We spoke about that before. So kind of trusting your intuition with that process. I believe it's a really beautiful time to make an altar, even though we're looking at all of this kind of retrograde backwards motion. We can still place intention for what ends up manifesting kind of easily within our personality, first and foremost, and within that expression of the soul. And we will start to see the outer world kind of change come October. But it feels lighter, it feels fun, it feels like we're kind of not taking as much responsibility whilst taking responsibility. It's like the weight of the responsibility starts to dissolve, and the responsibility becomes like an honor. And so there is a real sacred energy here. If those moments where you're like, oh, cool, I've done all of my jobs and all the things that I needed to do, what am I going to do in this space? Ritual, devotion, make something that means something to you and to your life. We do have a bit of insight into the future, yet it almost feels like there are a lot of projections and projections almost being like false images. We see these a bit like in the collective, if she's been purging, they're kind of like photographs of things that you might see. So let's use an example. A photograph gets shown to you of your childhood and you're like, hold on a moment, that is me and I know those people, but I've got no memory of that. And then we find out it's like a fake photograph and it was there just to kind of like trip you up to see through the illusion. So projections are kind of images, pictures, things that can come through where if you're seeing things in your future timeline that you don't like, dismiss them and go to work to create something that you do want and need. Wants and needs, sure, I kind of feel more leaning into this, like, what do I want right now versus what do I need? There's an acknowledgement in the middle of like, I have everything that I need, yet I'm also moving into this place where like I've found some desires, that want to come through. And it's not all about self-serving. That's the other thing. I feel like there's this beautiful picture of like, I desire to contribute in XYZ. I desire to contribute more in this part of my life. I desire to contribute and take better care of my body so as that I've got the energy to, I don't know, take meals around my community, whatever it is. It's like a lot of internal, like they show me like the inside of the clock. There's like a lot of like internal adjustments. And whilst it might just seem like one little click over, it's got enough kind of energy and momentum behind it to like change the whole perspective and how we relate to life. So I love this month. I really, really do. I feel like there's a lot of magic in the air. There's a higher energy that feels stronger and more rooted to the earth. That earth star chakra feels like it's gotten a little bit more energy. And regardless of what may seem to be going on out there, it's like, all right, I'm just going to kind of like roll with the punches. And the punches can end up being like confetti that like bursts in your face. And it's like, congratulations, you've just entered a new vibration. Look how beautiful life is. Yeah, anything else here, guys? Okay. They're sort of saying like it was almost like something flicked in from the outside, almost like little surprises, little miracles. I feel like it's a nice time to kind of expect that right now. Almost like I'm expecting miracles to show up in my life. That'd be a really nice thing to be able to say to yourself. I feel like gifts, generosity is something that people are practicing because there's been an awareness previously this year of greed. Greed meaning like I'm taking more than it is that I need, or I have enough here and I would like to be able to share more. So I feel like it's more of a contribution, this lovely kind of generous feeling, and people acknowledging that they feel really good to be generous, and where can I be more generous with my time and my energy and my thoughts and my expression and my art and to my garden, or I don't know, it's weird, like little American accent wanting to come through then. Anyway, I'm going to cut that thread. Anything else? Oh, that's beautiful. You know those old like conch shells? I think they're called conch shells, conch shells. I don't know. Those like beautiful big shells that we see in like movies, and the mermaids use them, and I almost feel like like a calling. I just saw this in like the future timeline. This was very specific to those who have felt like they don't have a sense of purpose. I feel like there's been a download that is almost tangible enough in the vibration you're being elevated to. It's like you're matching what it is that you came here to do. And if you haven't received insight from your soul as to what that is, I feel like it starts to call you. So there's a really beautiful invitation to like sit in meditation, go into movement within your body, use music if you need, to like connect with that future version of yourself, because there is like a line of communication there. There are definitely ways to do this. If you want my help with this, like reach out. There's no problem, but I sort of feel like there's like snippets of this that you can be receiving now. That's it. I'm going to finish there. Again, I got my partner made me this. Isn't this so cute? My magic wand. It actually feels really nice in my fingers. Anyway, I love today. Anything else I need to pass on? Find me on Instagram. Look, as much as I love YouTube, you know, I'm popping things up here sometimes, but Instagram's where you'll find me. You can go through there to the link in my bio to find my online courses, enrollments for House of Mystics coming up in December, which is a 6-month online school for intuitively sensitive people, where we tap into spiritual gifts, live life intuitively guided, bring in the tools that we need to clear our energy, all sorts of amazing and incredible things. That'll be starting in March 2024 at this stage, I believe. With a little room for flexibility, but I have spots for one-on-one readings, hours or 90 minutes, where we can go into the depths of your own experience and break apart some of these themes for you to provide guidance and clarity. And sometimes it's just an organization of energy so that you can see the path in which you're on, and bring through a couple of steps forwards or some insight into the future if that's something that's not going to destroy you. What I want to say, like your creatress energy. I do believe that you are here to create your own life. And so when we're looking collectively, these are more just like bigger themes that can trickle down that do affect us. If you've advanced in these already and it's not something that is showing up for you, that's wonderful and it's great. You may be having a very different experience to that. And if they are themes that are affecting you, awesome. We just look at this like it's school. We're here on earth at school, and there is so much beauty in this world, and I feel like we're really seeing that this month, and there's such a exciting, and I feel like we're arriving at the party. And so take care of yourselves, take care of others, be kind. We're all doing the best that we can. Please leave a comment, say hello. I know some of you come through my Instagram, and so you probably don't get the option to comment, but I'd really like to grow this channel. That is my intention. I really would love some more exposure, to be able to meet more of you and connect with more of you, because I do feel like these readings are really super valuable. I love what it is that I do, and I need your help sometimes. So all of that is really deeply appreciated. If you want to share it to your Instagram, send people here, please do. We're all in this together. And anyway, September, what's after that? October. I'll see you in October. Have a great month. Bye.